Oh look, there's an old doorway.
That's probably the north door. What happened?
Oh, that's where the stone is.
That's right, I mean it's the north door, which is always the pagans used to meet at the north and not go in the Christian way, so they blocked all the north doors off, thinking that they were far too pagan.
So basically pagans were in like churches.
Well, I'll get my compass out. Oh yeah, I mean, but they always, it's called the Devil's Door. Let me get my compass. Yeah, that's east-west. That might be south, actually.
That's the north door. So basically, the church just took over all their churches.
All the pagan sites.
Yeah.
Christians took over the pagan sites and developed their own kind of religion. But when we really kind of think about it, the Pope Augustus was told to do that, to take over the pagan sites and Christianize them.
I just want to talk about this door. This, when it was made, was a pagan building. That is a pagan door. And how many doors like that do we see in churches and think that they're just churches? But they weren't. All these buildings were pagan buildings which had been turned into churches. So the pagan buildings were there first, not 2,000 years ago, maybe only even 150 years ago. And that's why we only see getting on for 200 years now, because you'll see in churches in about the 1840s, 50s or 60s, somewhere about that time. This is why you will only find tombstones from that date. Everybody is realising that the churches start in the 1800s, the tombstones, 1840s, 1860s, somewhere about then. This is why you will only find tombstones in the churches with those dates, because before that they were pagan buildings turned into churches in that time. So we haven't had churches for that long. Why don't they tell us that? Why don't they tell us that the Notre Dame and Westminster Abbey are pagan buildings turned into Christianity? Why couldn't they tell us that? This is when they started turning all the pagan buildings into churches. We've only had churches for less than 200 years. Don't you think that's incredible? That's the point of this video. This is the Notre Dame. I think that's a different top on it because it used to have a steeple before it was burnt. So I'm going to change the picture in a minute. But do you see those things sticking out? These? Well, there it is, a different roof before it was burnt down. But in France, they are Catholic. These are Catholic churches. We have very, very, very similar churches built by the same people. We call them Protestant churches, and they've never ever explained and that they've been turned in. The war was on the pagan people, because look what they could build. Look at the civilization. This is why you won't find any tombstones at a certain time in these places, because this is not where we buried the people. This is not where we buried the people. Pagan buildings. I mean, I've been to Notre Dame. It was beautiful in there, though. If that all burnt down, they'll never be able to replace what was in that. The ceilings were amazing, and it is quite big in there. This one here is Westminster Abbey. See, it's still got those things sticking out of them. Still the same sort of shaped church. Well, a church now, but pagan building. So pagan buildings. That's the front of Westminster Abbey. See? Let's go back to that one a minute. With these things that stick at Notre Dame. This is inside. Who built these? The pagan people built these. The pagan people. Pagan buildings. This is still Westminster Abbey, but it's very similar to the Notre Dame, which is a Catholic church, to this one, which is a Protestant church. But they weren't. They were pagan buildings. And there's those things sticking out. But in some churches, because the church is even a bit bigger, they can make roofs in there. I showed you one the other day with a blue roof, and they'd managed to put roofs in these bits here. It's all roofed in, so the church was even bigger. I think it was Bulgaria. So they were able to do all that then. How civilized were these people, these pagans? And then basically, oh, I think that one's actually Marlborough College. Yes, that one is Marlborough College, where my Merlin's Mound in Silbury Hill is a few miles up the road. So that's Merlin's Mound in Marlborough College, but we can't go in there and see it because it's in the college. You just get skirted off. Anyway, that's Silbury Hill, and the other one's Merlin's Mound, and I think they were both step pyramids. And to put it into context, that's after they've cleared up Merlin's Mound, and those are the people, and you can see how small they are. So it gives you an idea that that is not a small mound. It's quite a big mound. And the one at Silbury Hill is even bigger. Anyway, this cathedral, I looked up cathedrals, is in Lincoln. And they're talking about other places where there are cathedrals. Now they're all going to look roughly like, with the beautiful ceilings. There it is there, look. Look at that. All with these ceilings and the stonework inside. They'll all have those pagan buildings. What I'm going to do is coming to an end, but these were all pagan buildings and they could build those all this time ago. I'm going to play a little bit of Stan Smith because last year on a hangout we were talking about this, but not realising that it was much sooner in time than we thought. Because, you know, when you don't have a time scale, you can't work out when it happened. But everybody knows what happened to lovely Stan. He went to sleep and he didn't wake up. He was only 37, less than 2 weeks ago. I don't know any more than that, but I had a lovely message from his mum, because I made a video about him, and a lovely message from couple of messages from his girlfriend, his partner. So that was really great. But on this hangout, I'm going to add this bit of hangout that Stan and I had about what these churches were. We did originally air this hangout with Stan Smith, January 2020. First of all, Stan is talking about how he looked at the stars and how he did it, and I've been following him for a few years on that, and that's amazing. But this hangout isn't about this. This was about churches. So I've included about half an hour of his hangout, and first of all he was looking at 360. Then he found that lots of buildings have these figures, you know, these numbers, letters, whatever they are, and then he talks about this building. So that was my point of putting this part of Stan's video in with why churches haven't been here that long. Churches, or what we call them as churches, they were pagan buildings and they were doing other things in them. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I personally am going to really miss Stan Smith. He was an amazing young man and I love him much. Anyway, on with the video, and yeah, leave your comments after the video. I'm going to end it with Stan. Anyway, thanks very much. And what's your thoughts about churches when you realise this information?
We're going to do a bit of like 360 history quick. So this, you see this?
Mm-hmm.
This is a 360 map drawn in 1902. Lumber so high, and if you look on the map, it's got the miles. Look, so from here, look, you're looking out 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, 40, 50. You know, it's got all. And like I say, this 1902.
How could they have done that then?
Well, this 360 stuff isn't anything new. People have been, it's either been available or they've been dreaming about it. Do you know what I mean? Because you could do this with maths. You could draw this out if you knew mathematically how to to draw it. But did they have a way of visually seeing it? Because what would be the point in drawing it if there was no way of seeing it?
If you had to try and put your stars onto a map like that, it would take you ages and forever and be so difficult. Yet these people, hundreds of years ago, 100 and something years ago, managed to do it.
Yeah, this is 118 years ago.
It's amazing, Stan.
This ain't the only image as well. We found quite a few of these, but this one here is one of my favourites. This is 1847. At a place like a place I can't pronounce. Must be I don't know. I'm not even going to guess. But this is incredible. This is like one of the best ones I think Z's found to date. You know, the detail in it. When you actually view this back in a headset, it's incredible. So this is virtual reality from 1847.
Wow. Well, we know history's a lie. I've been finding that out and talking a bit about that on Unscrambled Channel. But yeah.
So look at the detail in these pictures. They're like people, horses, and all the houses. And is this how it was? You know? Is this that someone sat up there and just drawn it out and then made it work? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? This is just when we see this, it's like wow. So yeah. Crazy, isn't it?
So sorry, is that put through your goggles, or they already done that and you're just viewing it?
No, this is the actual image. It's on YouTube. It's on Z Proxy's channel. They're all on his channel. There's about 10 of these images. So they're pictures that Z's now put onto YouTube in a video form, so people can watch them in their headsets if they so please.
Right.
Which really they should be.
What do you think that means when you realise that one was 18 something? What does that tell you?
Well, they had knowledge of this, you know. The 360 sky clock is in everything, it turns out, you know. These 360 things are everywhere. All the churches hidden knowledge of the sky clock. All these old buildings that they mean things, you know. I don't know if the star faults are all tied into what people are calling star faults, these star-shaped faults that everyone's spotting everywhere.
Right, because I've got one up the road from me. It's under a castle that was supposed to have been built in 1100 and something.
Yeah, same with me.
But the castle would have been the size of a small. It would be a very small church, because you can see pictures of people standing on grass in the middle of it now, because obviously it's lost the main bit. And just the towers are there. There's been battles at Newbury, so it's quite in history it's quite a famous little castle. But it's so small, but underneath it, someone was doing some cinematography, and they were doing like the 360 thing, Stan, but and I came across it, and they had a star fort underneath it, and I can see it on the ground.
There's one up the road from me, Carisbrooke Castle.
And also, a lot of people might not know, but the Statue of Liberty has one under it. But they've covered it up to make sure that people don't realise that underneath the Statue of Liberty is a star fort, because then the people would realise that the Statue of Liberty was a lot older than they're telling us.
So I'll say, you see them in everything, everywhere. They're just here, there, everywhere.
What's your take on star forts? Do you think they're more like because they were resonating, or because they're not really forts, are they? They were other things. And a lot of them have water around them.
To me, you wouldn't go through that much effort to build something that didn't mean nothing. So I think they do have meaning. And is it a marker? Is it from the air, so you knew where you were from the air? Or is it like people have said, are they resonating an energy? Or because if you look at them all, they follow the sound patterns, like the waves of sound. They are you know.
It's not so well known for the rest of the country, although there is the oldest one in Berkshire where I live now. It's near Reading, but nearly all of them are in Wiltshire, the white horses on the hills. Now they're best seen from the sky. It's all that effort to go out into fields, up hills, and then dig out and draw and get a big horse in chalk there. For what reason? Loads of horses in Wiltshire.
That's what I mean. It's like we've had something that we haven't got now, you know. Something's missing from this.
Yeah, it really annoys me that they have systematically been destroying for the last few hundred years our history. We've got bits of it still, thank goodness, but we don't have enough of it, and what they've destroyed probably would help us put it much more together.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people are noticing now, like say for instance when they built Buckingham Palace, they'll say it took 1 year. And and I brought up some bits that they're saying, I found out, and this is in the history, it took a year to build this, a year. And you're just like, wow, even today it would have taken years and years of preparation, but only took them a year. But we can't trust what they say because they lie so much about our history. I mean, we're probably grateful that you can find things like this, isn't it? To sort of show, because they like destroying most things.
I don't even know how Z found this. Some of the stuff he sends me is just like, where'd you even find that stuff?
Well, they're hoping we're not going to be clever enough to put it together.
So if I put this on as well, this is what I was saying about it's all hidden. I think I'll put this up. So these are all the images around the world in the buildings, and look, there's graveyards and everything, but that is showing you the sky and how it works. It's the sky clock.
Oh wow.
But it's in everything. It's it's like it's as if it's been put in all these things, so it's not forgotten yet. Somehow people have still forgotten.
So basically, we just don't think.
We just look at it as nothing. Yeah, these things do have meanings.
Sad, isn't it, that we don't? Maybe today people might have moved on a bit, not been so interested, but it would have been nice to have had the choice, wouldn't it? That's what's missing. Because they're not putting one, no one can put things together unless people like you stumble upon them or are clever enough to realise. Most people just look at it and see numbers or figures and whatever. Fascinating, but that'll be it. But brilliant.
Yeah, you have got to look at everything twice and look at it with open eyes, not just with a quick brief look. You just still some of these I don't understand these symbols. Some of them I look at and go, oh yeah, that's sun, moon, star, whatever. I look at them and can know what they are, but some of them it's just like, don't know what that means.
It's a bit annoying because we won't know how old they are. Is that 100 years, 200 years, 400 years, thousands of years? Because we don't know what they've done to us and what they've done about our history and how much they've lied.
I don't think it's that. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Everything is just a lie. That's all I know. Like there's truth hidden in the lies. But most of it's lies.
A lot of them have got that P in it, haven't they? Like a P. Do you know what that is, or you don't know what that is? Right there, it keeps coming up.
I've
there.
No, I have written stuff down, but I haven't got it all.
There you go, there it is again.
But yeah, people need to look at all this stuff. Look, that's everywhere.
And this is on buildings or churches or both?
It's on it can be on anything. Seems like it's hidden everywhere.
Sometimes I think about it, and I think with all this hidden stuff, I just think it makes it worse because it just makes it worse for me because it's like spooky. It's all spooky. Because there's all this stuff that we don't.
There's another thing hidden here in the video. You see my cursor?
Yeah.
That's the 24-hour sun in the background that no one looks at. The sky. Look, there's a picture of the 24-hour sun in the background that no one even sees.
Yeah, we're not very good at. It's almost like we're blind, isn't it?
It's like you're blinded to the thing that's right in front of you. Like, you need to look around and just stop and pause things and just go, right, let's just have a look at that again.
But you know what? If you have to say you come across someone that you don't know, like a stranger right now, and you try and explain all this, they'll think we're crazy. But you're telling the truth, even if we don't understand it all. But it's because it's been so covered over that when you try and tell someone the truth, it sounds crazy. It does. To what we've been taught, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're taught the sun, the moon, the stars, everything goes around the earth, and the earth's a spinning ball. Yeah, that's, that's half lie, innit, and half sort of true. Like, the sky's a globe. It appears as a globe, and it goes around you. It doesn't go around the earth. I've not seen any evidence for the sun going around the earth. I just see it going around us.
How many years have you been a researcher now, Stan?
About 5 years. I've been looking into this. I've always had interests in things like puzzle, things that are puzzles, and always been drawn to a quest or two, and this was just like the biggest quest of all.
I think the bit of a shock is that it's a bit like when we talk about it, there are pyramids all over the world, like in America, here, there. It's the same thing with I call everything TARTARIA because that's where all the hidden stuff is. But if you go to America, they've got buildings like we have, like they have, and there's a lot of like this kind of mosque, like we've got the Brighton Dome, which is sort of, they haven't painted. If they painted it like the Moscow building, everybody would realise that it looks so like a Moscow building, but because they just put lights on it, everybody just thinks, oh, it looks like it's a palace. They don't think, but you see, they just mask everything or don't put it in its true light, and it's just incredible what we've missed. Even don't you think it's incredible? We walked around all those years not realising, and now you can't not but see it.
It seems obelisks. Is it obelisks? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it seems that they're like giant sundials. They're marking specific locations on it. There's all these that's what I say, all these buildings, they're not done for fun. They were done for a reason. People were trying to mark stuff to tell people and show them so they never forget the truth. Couldn't be blinded.
It's strange. What I mean is, if you look at the buildings, even the starports, there are starports everywhere. I call them TARTARIA buildings. They're everywhere. It's all the same sort of vein, isn't it? If you know what I mean. So whatever was here, we were all part of one thing.
It was like the world was once free and everyone was happy to do stuff. That's how I want to believe it anyway. And now we're all stuck in limits,
divided.
Boundaries and limits, and put in boxes of, oh, are you a globie or are you a flat earther? No, I'm just me. Do you know what I mean? I'm just showing you how it is.
I'm not sure, but I think maybe it's not, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, if you ever said that you were a flat earther, that was get a cross off out you, get away from me. But I think that it's just a little bit more accepted now. Yeah,
but they want you to put yourself in these box. They want you to box yourself and cage yourself in these little things. They want you to you divide yourself.
I think what you're meaning is we were all part of one, and now we're totally divided and separated and put into groups. And that link I accidentally sent you instead of the hangout, that guy there saying you know, now they call it a colour, black and white, and they've done all this, you know, that's how they've done it, just made sure everything's about division and everything's duality.
When we should get back to our roots of just the truth, you know. I think that's half of it. Everyone's just lost in a pack of lies.
I don't think people care, and unfortunately we're all as bad, because I've got a phone, you've got a phone, we're in our phones a bit, but I use my phone still for research. You know, I'm looking and listening for, I don't know, videos, ideas, talking to you. I'm not just using it to get stuck in a Facebook meme.
I think people are just kept too busy. They once did care, but now they're too ground down and they just don't care. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what it comes down to with most people, is they'd like to give a crap, but I'm too knackered and I don't care. And that's because it's the system and how it is set up. That's how they want everyone to be, you know? They
want to get their dose of controlling from the television.
That's why your house is so expensive, and that's why your car's so expensive, and that's why everything's so expensive. And really, it's not worth anything but the person, you know, it's someone's time to put it together. That's all it's worth, right? And yet, some corporation or someone says it's worth a lot more than what it actually is worth. So then you have to work a lot harder to get it. So then you're busy, you know. And everyone.
Or we could put it in another. You could put it in another way. Say 10 years ago, you might have been raving, whatever it was, and whatever was your thing. And none of these things seem very important. And then when you wake up, you realise all the things that you didn't think were important are really important. And then you start researching them and looking into things. That's what happens.
That is what happens. So this video here, it's got some sound to go with it. It's from the Proxy's channel. It's from 1575. It's a building in Italy, an astronomer's building. It was just set up to show the sky. It was basically a giant sundial, this whole building. So there's some audio that goes with this.
Well, I just find this really incredible. Even in Brighton, in the middle 1880s, they had, 1850, they had an Aegean project, but unfortunately they took the middle column out and the thing collapsed. But I'm just saying that they actually went to the effort. They had all these things. I just wonder what happened to us from the 1800s to now, because we seem to be a lot more advanced then than we are now.
Yeah, well, I don't know, it's like we've gone backwards, you know. We don't care about the things we should care about now.
We've got phones and cameras, but that's about it. We had electric cars in the early 1900s, in the late 1800s, so we were there.
Yeah.
That building's amazing. I mean, how did they build it? I mean, people have to realise, how do they build these things? You can't build that in 5 minutes.
Well, they had understanding of how the sky actually worked, you know, so they could then use the maths that they knew and understood to create something of awesomeness that would carry on tracking it for them to show their beliefs to be true. You know?
I mean, in a sense, Dan, that almost looks like a church building sort of thing, doesn't it? Sort of
that's
like a church.
That's what they
building.
describe it as, a cathedral, but it was also for astronomical science. So
those windows play a part then?
Yeah,
so those windows are...
That's the thing with all these old windows in these buildings and these churches, and like they've all got a little hidden meaning that people should be looking at, you know. And you know, there's a lot of people that are, but they're showing you what's actually happening, you know. They are showing you the truth. So do you want to just sit back and we can watch this? It's 3 minutes 37.
Go for it, Stan. As long as it's all right for the channel, go for it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is. It's you have to let me know and make sure that you can hear it all right. So,
yeah.
Here we go.
Expelled secret astronomical features into churches. By Jeff Minot, 2016, a disc of light moves across the cathedral floor.
Yeah.
The marble in its path lights up, revealing deeply colored swirls, rich with hues of burgundy, plum, caramel, and ochre. It is ancient rock, stained by terrestrial chemistry and by the infernal pressures of the inner earth. Its surface is smooth and nearly reflective. Testament to extraordinary craftsmanship, but also to the effects of hundreds of years' worth of penitent feet processing through the looming shadows of the church interior. The air smells of smoke and candle wax, and the occasional perfume of a passing tourist. The source of this light is a hole punched through the roof of the church high above, elaborately accentuated by a brilliant halo of golden rays, painted to resemble the sun. The hole acts like a film projector. Daylight streams through, creating a narrow beam of illumination visible only in the presence of smoke or dust, as if something otherworldly has been forced into material form. Seconds pass, minutes, an hour. Outside, the sun appears to arc slowly across the daytime sky. Here, in response, the projected disk creeps inch by inch across the marble floor. At solar noon, when the sun has reached its highest point in the sky, the circle of light touches a long, straight line made of inlaid brass and copper, nearly 220 feet from end to end, or 2/3 the length of an American football field. Although this line extends more than half the length of the cathedral floor, it seems to follow its own geometric logic. It is a long diagonal slash cutting between two columns, against the building's floor plan, as if at odds with the structure that houses it. Stranger still, on either side of this brass line, words and celestial images have been carved directly into the rock. There are the 12 signs of the zodiac interspersed amongst Roman numerals and references to solstices. There is Aquarius, the water bearer, Capricorn, with its confusing mix of shaggy horns and the coiled tail of a sea creature, Sagittarius, preparing to fire a magnificent bow and arrow, and the pouting fish of Pisces. At first glance, these symbols seem pagan, even sacrilegious, as if the astral remnants of an older belief system have somehow survived beneath the feet, and beyond the gaze, of daily worshippers. Yet these symbols are not there to cast horoscopes, let alone spells. They are there for purposes of church administration and astronomical science. This cathedral, the Basilica di San Petronio in Bologna, Italy, also doubles as a solar observatory, at one point. One of the most accurate in the world, and these signs of the zodiac are part of an instrument for measuring solstices. I can say that I literally tripped over the subject, science historian John L. Heilbronn explains to me. Heilbronn is Emeritus Professor of History at the University of California, Berkeley, as well as the holder of advanced degrees in both history and physics. Born on St. Patrick's Day in 1934, he continues to lecture on topics ranging from vortex rings to the epistemology of Niels Bohr. In addition to a biography of astronomer Galileo Galilei, he is author of an excellent book called The Sun and the Church. Cathedrals as Solar Observatories, a study of what are known as meridian lines. When we speak, Heilbronn is spending a long weekend in Joshua Tree National Park. He is an avuncular presence over the phone line, revisiting points he had published 2 decades earlier as if he had written them yesterday. I wondered what this brass line was doing there in the floor, encased in marble, he continues, with all these numbers running up and down it, inside a Catholic church.
So,
Yeah, incredible. I mean, that thing would have been acres big.
yeah. In Italy.
It just amazes me that they could build it, because, like I said, they built this dome where you could sit in it and you could have a field in it and animals, but they took the column out of the dome and it collapsed. These things haven't collapsed; they're still here.
That is probably one of the best buildings of its time.
That thing, that copper thing, blimmin' hell.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is all stuff that has happened. You know?
That nobody really knows about.
But you can't have none of this on a spinning globe in space. It doesn't work. This only works if it's going around, if the sun is going around that specific point. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which the sun does to the observer. It is to the observer. It goes around.
Do you have any more information on it, like how old that building is, just for instance?
I don't know how old that is.
And again, it's did you hear what he said? He called it a church, and in it is astrology. And even if they're not using it quite to make birth charts, they're still using it to help them do the sky.
Yeah, but perhaps churches and cathedrals, they're not for worshipping the gods, they're for looking at the sky.
I know we can't see it now, but if you look at Notre Dame looked like something from, well, some like futuristic civilization had lived in that. That was just incredible, that building and the shape of it and everything. It's just, what's that for?
No, if
These
you
big
look at these
churches,
cathedrals, all the light is how the light comes through. It's built in a specific way, facing a direction.
I mean, I put a video out the other day. Well, it was about the fact that in those days when we were poor and in carts and horses, they were building these great big churches, putting all this gold leaf, all these statues, carvings, paintings,
it's hard to believe, isn't it?
Great big organs with these great big organ pipes, which are just amazing. And it looks like the Wizard of Oz, you know, the thing they sit in to play the organ. And it's like, they did all that just for us to sing hymns.
It's a giant joke, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, there's a lot of truth in the history. But it seems like this sort of stuff, this is showing you exactly what is happening. And if you could go there and see this, I don't know if this building still exists. It'd be nice to think it does.
Can you at all get in touch with the person who actually made the video? And is there any way do you think they've got any more information?
Z made this up from I think it was a PTF.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's from a book.
Right.
So there's a lot of but these books are online. I don't know where.
Do you know what? As much as we love our internet, as much as we love our whatever it is, the thing that saved us a little bit is what they've managed to put on hard copy or written down. That's what saved us a bit, because if they hadn't done that, we never would have known any of the truth.
No, you can easily delete the videos, can't they? It's just a touch of a button, you know.
Yeah. Plus, I think they're always changing the history. So today, it might mean that Stan Smith lived on the Isle of Wight, but they could change it in history. That's
Mandela.
It's 50. Yeah, but I think that happens when people are awake as well. I think when you wake up, the Mandela effect comes in anyway. But in 50 years' time, they could have had you living in London, and in history, it'll show you lived in London, but you didn't. You lived in the Isle of Wight. And this is what they're doing to our history all the time, changing it. So that when people go back, say, lots of people have noticed that things have changed or things have gone missing. And that's what they're able to do on the internet. Change it.